Um, and we talk a lot about the possession battle. This is, another game where I think the guys did a lot of things that could have led to a win. We took 16 more shots than they did. We kept our turnovers down, and we're 14 for 52 from three. And so how do you survive nights when you don't shoot well? It's by doing all the little things. Our weak side defense has got to continue to improve. In the last 4 minutes of the game, we missed 3 weak side bottom helps, and it led to them scoring baskets at the rim. I think early in the game, we did a good job of protecting the paint, and they hurt us from three. Of their first 11 makes from three, they had 7 corner makes. And they only end up with 15 made threes because as the game wore on, we just didn't do a good enough job protecting the basket as a group. I do think that the process for our guys was good tonight. Again, this is not a number that you would expect from the three-point line with our group. And so it's a tough game to lose that way. Obviously, we'll show Zay some love for breaking the rookie assist record. It's been talked about a lot. And hopefully we can, move past that and keep pushing as our young group continues to improve.
What are you getting from Colin and John, those guys that are on the bench, but they're with you guys, kind of in those dead balls, timeout moments?
I think they're able to give some perspective to the players. I always think that for our players to hear things from their peers, especially guys like Colin and John who've had good careers and have been in the league for a bit now, it carries a different weight than when you hear it from the coaches, whether it's me or the assistants. For them to come back to the bench during a timeout and while the coaches are meeting, for those guys to be actively involved in conversations with our young players, I think is very helpful because they can give them some very honest feedback on what's going on in the game. It's not always feedback. Sometimes it's encouragement. I mean, they are teammates, but it adds to the overall, spirit of the team, especially when we're on the road. These games on the road, the bench becomes a pretty isolated little environment. And I think guys like John and Colin are adding a ton to that.
I know you mentioned a few different things you didn't like at the end of the game, execution defensive-wise, but there were a lot of spurts in this game where guys were scrambling and things, a lot of good defensive possessions. What did you like from some of those instances?
Yeah, I think that we're showing growth, and similar to the conversation we had before the game about pace, it's about doing it for longer. It's, okay, we did 3 quarters of the game. We scrambled pretty well and protected the rim pretty well. Can we do that for the entire game? And can we not let the fatigue lead to sloppiness in those little details? But I am seeing more of the 48 minutes, there being that execution both offensively and defensively. I think there's been a lot of growth from the group over the last couple of months, and now we've got to find ways to put together 48 minutes. There's been a variety of people in and out. The lineups are changing, and so at this point, we need to not use that as a crutch. And everybody that takes the floor understands their responsibilities in the schemes. We're past the point of there being an excuse or a rationalization for what's going on. Like, we need to just execute better on both sides.
Obviously, the talk was about Isaiah's passing, but how have you seen him grow as a scorer over the course of the season?
Yeah, I think he's using the threat of his passing to score. There are some players in the league who use the threat of their scoring to generate passing opportunities, and Zay's doing the opposite. I think he's doing a good job of recognizing when the defense fans out to our perimeter players and leaves him in situations where he needs to finish. And there's a bunch of examples of that in tonight's game where he's finishing around the paint because there really aren't kick-out passes to be made. So he has a lot more confidence in his three-point shooting, even though he didn't make one tonight. And we've seen a lot of improvement in his free throw. So I think that's giving him a different aggressiveness when he's playing downhill. He's seeking contact and just trying to recognize the opportunities when he can't force the pass, because once the league catches up to who you are as a rookie, there is a game plan for you. There is more of a personnel scouting for you. So I think Zay's made a good adjustment. I do think there was probably a 2-week period, 3-week period where he was overdoing the passing and not taking opportunities to put pressure on the rim. And I think right now he's in a pretty good headspace in terms of the balance of that.
Eric was asking you before the game about off-ball play and what makes good off-ball play. And I was thinking that most guys that come into the league, like, it's a small percentage that are going to be super high usage guys. And so is it important for kind of everyone to realize that they're actually going to be doing more than that in the NBA than they probably ever have?
Sure. But I also think there's an adjustment, because they may not be high usage guys early in their career in the NBA, but they've been high usage guys their whole life. So, there is a perspective when you're playing and when you're used to being the one having the ball and making the choices as opposed to being off the ball. The decisions are very different. Sometimes even the skill set needed is different, playing off a closeout versus playing in the pick and roll with the ball. So I think it's on us as a staff to try to strip that down and make the reads pretty clean and make the things that we care about obvious and clear, and not give them a checklist of 9 things they need to be trying to accomplish. We also have to give them a little bit of grace that they are learning to play in a different position. So there's a process to it, and I think for the most part we've seen a bunch of guys improve. I think right now on our team, we've talked about Johnny in the first couple of years in the G League as a two-way player and what he's done off the ball. I also think that Bryce has done an amazing job of adjusting to playing more off the ball than on the ball. If you had asked me 8 months ago, we would have been talking about Bryce's ability to create his own shot in the mid-range and how he's physical with the ball, and it's hard to speed him up. And I think now we're seeing him make so many catch-and-shoot threes, not just on kickouts but off handoffs. And that's a credit to Bryce, but a lot of working on it.